All righty, let's see. Okay, we are live. Look at God. All right, so tonight we are going to be talking about our summer session, one of our summer sessions called Prophets Arise, Developing and Cultivating the Emerging Yet Seasoned Prophetic Voice. We have 4 classes coming up. That's coming up in July for that. One's identifying your prophetic call, partnering with God, finding your prophetic community, nurturing your prophetic mantle. All right, so let me bring myself up and then we'll get Prophet Tanya up as well. Let's see. There we are. There we are. All right. So as you're coming in, like and share. We will be chatting about prophetic mentorship tonight as well. And I have some misconceptions about prophetic mentorship too. So I think I have like 13 that I may share as well. So that's going to be fun. And I've got some good tips to share. And then Prophet Tanya has some revelation as well regarding mentorship. So let me see it. Can I bring you up now? Okay, let me do this. We're going to bring her up. There she is in Richmond. In Richmond. Is that where you are?
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Everything is going good.
You got the baby in the bed.
Well, not quite yet.
Sorta?
She's headed there though.
Oh, okay. Almost there.
Yeah.
Almost there. All right, so cool beans. So we're going to, Tanya is helping with one of our courses, one of our courses. Prophets Arise, for everybody who is in the prophetic and needs some help with the prophetic and all of the above. Because I think right now you understand and you know that not everybody wants prophetic mentorship. Right?
Right. Yeah.
So why do you think that is? Well, wait a minute. I have all kinds of reasons. I have facts, and then we have whatever else. But anyway, we're going to be talking about that. If you've thought about prophetic mentorship, have pondered about prophetic mentorship, have wondered why people even. Oh, let me tell you this. This is a sidebar. A sidebar. Blessings, Rock. God bless you. So we have some ads running right now, and of course, there's always going to be people who say, "What? Are you charging for gifts? Are you charging to help somebody with their gifts?" I don't know what they were thinking about. But anyway, the bottom line was, I had to respond and say, this is equipping, equipping, equipping. That's what we're doing. We are equipping people, training people to use their gifts, because many times that's not taking place in their local ministry or what have you. So that's what this is all about. All right, let's rock and roll. So we're glad to have you here.
I am excited to be here, Apostle. I know we've been trying to get this live stream going for a minute, so I'm definitely excited. Just to be on here with my mentor, my spiritual mother, Chief Apostle. So, of course, I'm excited.
All right. Well, very good. So let's talk. Now you got some revelation on prophetic mentorship, right? What question should I ask you about prophetic mentorship, or should I go into the misconceptions first? You tell me. What made you get prophetic mentorship years ago?
Well, for one, I was searching, and so I wanted to get prophetic mentorship because I wanted to better understand who I was as a prophet. How do I navigate that season, and how do I transition from being discipled as a regular person disciple to being discipled as a prophet, because that discipleship is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
So while I knew what it looked like to be discipled as a person attending a church, I didn't know how to be discipled as a prophet called to the marketplace.
Right, because there's a difference between disciple. Okay, there's a difference between discipling Christians on a Christian journey and discipling, training, raising up prophets who are who are on a prophetic journey that's a little bit different
Yes.
and strange, would you say?
It's definitely different and strange. And for me, I became tired of trying to explain what I was experiencing to other people because I didn't know how to explain that transition. So, when people were asking me, why you're going through this, why you're going through that, I was trying to explain something. I didn't have an answer myself. I didn't even have an answer. So I needed that mentorship, not to have an answer for them, but to have an answer for me and to be okay with what my journey looked like as a prophet, because not every prophet's journey is the same.
Right. Not every prophet's journey is the same. Not every fivefold ministry leader's journey is the same. And definitely not every Christian's journey is the same. So I always tell people when it comes to prophetic mentorship, many times you've got to remember when you're at a church, which we want everybody to go to church, long live the church, folk. But the thing is, typically, you're mentored and discipled from your pastor's vein, and from how he or she grew up. So if there's a great emphasis on evangelism, then that's how you're going to be mentored. You're going to be mentored from that fivefold ministry office that they come from. And so when it's time for prophetic mentorship, for you to try to explore all of these supernatural happenings and why you're having these dreams, visions, a lot of times, though, many pastors aren't necessarily equipped to do that because they too have questions about prophetic ministry, et cetera, et cetera. Folks, I'm saying some are not, some are, and I'm going to give you some misconceptions on the prophetic. But again, this is just us talking to you more about what's going on at GICMP. That's the Global Institute of Church and Marketplace Prophets, GICMP, where Prophet Tanya is also our interim chief prophet for this area of the marketplace ministry. And she's been with us for a while as well. And I love her work ethic. I love her ability to be able to really tap into everyone else's prophetic journey because of what she's gone through. And so I think this is a great way. When I was thinking about, okay, who else can I have teach this? I was like, okay, yeah, Prophet Tanya would be great. Great. She has lots of great stories about the prophetic.
Yes, I do.
And what I love is even in the midst of your crazy journey, we can say that, right? Can we say that?
Yeah,
Even in the midst of your crazy journey, you still were able to have balance and really kind of say, okay, I'm going to submit to this process and not run from the process. And
right.
that was challenging a little, but you still stuck it out, right?
Yeah, I stuck it out. I always pray, God, keep my heart posture, because as prophets, as prophetic people, we do have some strange occurrences and experiences. And sometimes it's because of things we can't control. And then sometimes it's because of the things we can control. And I just pray and ask God to keep my heart right. And one way of keeping my heart right is the level of accountability. I can very well go out on my own and do some things, but it's that accountability that keeps me in check, that says, okay, because I know I'm not just showing up for me, right? I'm showing up for the leader, the organization. And furthermore, I'm showing up for God. I represent the kingdom. And so regardless of what I go through, I'm not showing up perfect, but I am showing up pure, showing up healed, and being able to open up when I am experiencing something and not hide away, go into that secret place or that cave, unless it's definitely necessary for a season.
Right.
But
I
it does
know.
happen.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So let's talk. I'll let you talk a little bit about why you think prophetic mentorship is necessary, what God has shown you. And then I'll come back and give some misconceptions. I have like misconceptions of the prophetic, but I also have 13 reasons that prophets tend to reject prophetic mentorship.
Right. So one of the things that through my journey, and I believe God has revealed to me, is that mentorship is necessary because it helps us first with that transition, right? So transitioning from one place to another place, from one space to another space, and one sphere to another sphere, because prophetic people, we operate on the level of the supernatural. And so we have visions, we see dreams, and sometimes in those dreams we may be catapulted to different places. We have all different types of experiences, and that prophetic mentorship helps us to transition, especially if you're a prophet and you're in a church and you are not understanding why you're there, and you're looking for that mentorship. And sometimes that will land you church hopping and
You're
from
right.
one church to another church because you're looking for your answer in a church and it's not in a church. And so now you're deemed as a prophet that's church hopping when really you're just trying to find your prophetic company, right? And so mentorship helps you with that transition. Like, it helps you to say, okay, this mentorship is giving me the confidence that I need, that even when I'm in an uncomfortable place, in an uncommon place, I can remain there because I'm in transition. And so having a mentor in your life will keep you from church hopping, and they will teach you how to remain in an uncommon place with an uncommon calling.
That's good. That's good right there. Because, we hear a lot about prophets and prophetic people who just go from one place to the next. But I think you bring out a very great point. A lot of times you're searching for something that you really probably can't find in your local congregation unless you're really at a prophetic apostolic church. And so you're looking for something that you can't really tap into, and you're going other places. Then you're looking like you're walking in rebellion and all kinds of stuff. But really, you're trying to meet up with your prophetic destiny. You're trying to find that prophetic destiny so that you can manifest as the prophet or the prophetic person that God has really called you to be. So that's great stuff. I love it.
Yeah, and that's what I experienced. I had my home church, and here's the good thing, right? My pastor at the time, the bishop at the time, did not have a problem. Like, when I first started out in ministry in 2009, he was always for you fulfilling your call. The issue wasn't the church, the issue was me. I was not comfortable because I was trying to figure out, how do I operate as a prophet here? I couldn't see the bigger picture
Mm-hmm.
because I was at that beginning stage of coming into my prophetic nature. And my bishop can help me transition because he didn't have the language. He just had the language for for training and discipling a Christian in their Christian journey by saying, I want you to fulfill your call. But I was in a different space, right? And so I needed that mentorship because I started looking. And when I started, going out there and looking at this church, and nothing sufficed, nothing made sense. And I ran into issues here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they just as reckless over it. It was too much. And I'm like, okay, I need to sit myself down, settle, went back to my home church. And when I went back is when I actually connected with you, right? And then things really started being put together. Things started making sense for me.
Mm-hmm.
So mentorship is really great for prophets and prophetic people who are in that transition phase. Even if you're not in a church and you're at home, it's good to still have that prophetic mentorship for that level of accountability, so
Oh
that
my
they
goodness. Wait,
can.
wait, wait. What do you mean? Even if they're at home? What in the world? Don't be cutting up.
Okay, because some
Wait,
people
wait a
are
minute.
not in the
Wait a minute. The
church.
truth of the matter is, right now, there's tons of y'all still at home. Some of y'all, tons of people are still at home. Back in the day, you were trying to figure something out, but right now it's like there's people still at home. Quite, yeah.
The cave is not for you to get comfortable. The cave is not for curiosity, right? The cave is for you to tap into your creative nature, which is your prophetic nature. So if you're in the cave like Elijah, it is because God is saying something. A still small voice should be encouraging you and challenging you and giving you some instruction. But a lot of us are in the cave and we're not hearing from the Lord. We're just hearing from our flesh. We're walking in rebellion. The cave is a place of transition to get us back into the field, to get us back into our prophetic journey, to get us back into the marketplace and get us back into the church. If you're a prophet that is called to serve at a church, it's good to have a church home, but there are prophets who are called to actually serve in a local church. But a lot of times we're in transition, but we're out of position.
Okay, that's good. We're in transition, yet out of position. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's good, good, good. All right. Good to see all of you all who are tuning in from Facebook and YouTube and everywhere where else. God bless you. As you're coming in, don't forget to like the page, like the post, and do share. We're talking about prophetic mentorship tonight and prophetic training. Why it's necessary. And then I'm going to give some misconceptions, or I'm going to give you probably 13 reasons why prophets tend to reject prophetic mentorship. Prophet Tanya is here with us. She's given some great reasons about why mentorship is necessary. All right. So I'll let you go on. Was that number? I don't even know where we are. Is that number 2?
Number 1. And I'm
One?
gonna get to number 2, but let me say this. When we talk about transition, right? It's not just about a church, it's also about our family. So when we look at First Kings chapter 19, and starting at verse 19, we actually see Elijah throwing his mantle on Elisha, right? And he throws his mantle on us, and the first thing Elisha is concerned about is his family. Like the problem with transition is that God goes and throws this mantle on us. Like we wake up and we start feeling that heaviness of God on us. And the first thing we're worried about is what our family is going to say, what our family has to say about it, what our friends. So you need mentorship to help you understand how to say no, how to walk away from your family. And when I mean walk away, I don't mean cut them off, but to create that space for you and God, so that you're not worried about what your family have to say about your calling, about you being chosen to go to this next place, and just be more focused on this. God has thrown this mantle on me. God has put the pressure on me. The first thing I need to be concerned about is, God, what's next? But instead, he was worried about what's going on behind him instead of what God is trying to do in front of him, right?
Yeah, exactly. But notice, even though Elisha wasn't ready to really chase after Elijah, he knew once he got his stuff together, he was going to be the one who would have to chase after Elijah. It's not the other way around. And Elijah didn't stop for him to figure it out. Elijah did what he was supposed to do, and then he kept on moving in the direction that he was supposed to go because he was the leader.
Yes.
Who am I talking to today?
That actually takes me to point 2, Apostle. We need mentorship to help us process that trauma. So 1, to help us transition, but we also need mentorship to help us process the trauma that we experience while we're in transition. Like and you just said it, Chief Apostle, like when we come into that mentorship, we bring our experiences with us. We bring our trauma with us. We bring the thing that we dealt with Jezebel with us. We bring the stuff that we dealt with in our church and our family with us. And then we expect the person that's giving us mentorship to be a certain way. We tend to forget the focus at hand, right? And that is to bring us up. But a lot of times, people who have so much trauma, they want the person that's mentoring them to come down, right? Instead, when we get mentorship, it's supposed to pull us up to the next level, not pull the person that's training us down. Of course, they're going to meet us where we are, but the goal is for us not to pull them down, is to allow them to pull us up. That's why we're getting mentorship. It is to advance us so that we can advance the kingdom, so that we can advance in the marketplace. So we need mentorship for to help us with transition, but to also help us with the trauma. Because here's the truth: prophets and prophetic people, because of the level in which we speak to the Lord and the Lord speaks to us, a lot of times we're deemed crazy. Like people will call us loony, they're off, we're too sensual, we're too much in our emotions. And sometimes that is true. And we need that mentorship to help us balance our senses. We need to help us balance our emotions. to help us to deal with those emotions that we sometimes don't know how to balance or to get help with. And so we need someone higher than us that can see what's going on inside of us.
That's
Because we're
good. That's good. That's good. We need someone higher than us, a little bit above us, to help us see what's going on. Where around us, in us, through us, everywhere. Oh my goodness. Because you know me, I like to look in y'all's eyes. I'd be like, let me look in your eye. You got what's going on with you? Is something going on? What in the world? But that's good stuff. They're very good. And I think the more transparent we are about talking about it and letting people know about it, you know, the more comfortable people will get regarding mentorship and training. We are talking about simply equipping. Are you hearing me, folks? We are talking about continuing education. All right. What we're talking about tonight is not trying to pull you from a church. What we're talking about is how can we help you complement your church? How can we help you look from a different perspective? Because in situations like this, when it's time to get trained, there are many times that prophets reject prophetic mentorship, and you reject everything because somebody else has thrown you to the curb. But I'm going to come back to Prophet Tanya and see. Okay, was that point number 2?
That was point number 2, dealing with trauma.
Trauma.
Yeah, because when we come, a lot of times when we come into this thing, we have a lot of baggage that's attached to us. We come broken from previous ministries, whether they caused it, whether we caused it. A lot of times it's us. Majority of the time it's us, and our inability to manage our emotions. And so we come in with all these traumatic experiences. So we need that level of mentorship to help us in our space of trauma, to help peel back that level of trauma. And like you said, Chief Apostle, to truly be transparent. So when you're receiving mentorship, dealing with your trauma, that is going to cause the person that's receiving the mentorship to be transparent. You can't expect the Chief Apostle to help you in an area that you don't want to reveal to them. You can't. Sometimes we want our leader to know everything about us, but yet we don't want to tell them anything about us. And it doesn't work like that. Of course, we can discern and God can speak to us, but we can't help you within the confines of you willing to reveal what the real issue is, right? Because you have to invite the leader or the mentor into that space of trauma.
Right. That is so true, because I tell people, even as a pastor, oh my God, you can't mentor people who don't invite you to mentor them. You cannot pastor people who don't want you to pastor them. So you have to almost be invited into someone's personal space to be able to help them in ways that they really need help. Because right now, it is what it is. Sometimes, though I can't necessarily say, because you might not be ready to receive that point. But mentorship, when we talk about mentorship and we have specific areas that we deal with, boy, that will not just open a can, but it will help us deal with things that maybe you haven't been willing to deal with. And that's what happens at our summer school, and what happens during Prophets Arise. I want to show you what we're going to be teaching on so you can really get this. The first class is going to be about identifying your prophetic call. We're going to also talk about partnering with God, finding your prophetic community, and then nurturing your prophetic mantle. And so when we speak of Prophets Arise, we really are talking, though, to those who are emerging prophetic voices, no matter what your age is, because we understand that there are some prophets who need to arise who are seasoned in age as well, but you still need some mentorship. So this is really for the season one. This is really for those of y'all. Let's see. Should we put an age on it? Let's put an age on it. Should we say like 40 and up?
Yeah, I would say maybe about 38 and up. 40.
I mean, if you're younger than that, that's fine. But I know God has told me recently that I really need to begin to really focus in on even those who are 55 and older, because there's a generation of prophetic voices who haven't just been ignored, but you've been told that because you're female, you don't even have a voice, you know? And so there's a generation of, I believe, seasoned prophetic voices who've never been trained, never been mentored, and they are sitting in churches all across the world, and you need some help. But then there are also some of you who, you know, God's doing something different in you, but they don't have that training at your local church. And no matter how much you swap churches going from one place to the next, you just can't find it. And so that's what our institute is all about. And that's why we do, you know, probably 80 to 90% of our courses are online, so that we can come to you in spaces like this and really help you. And really, I think you found me online first, right?
Yes, I did. I found you on Facebook. You actually showed up in my feed.
Oh, I showed up in your feed. Really? Was it an ad, or was it about?
It was an ad. And I guess sometimes when you're on your phone sensing or can hear everything that you're saying. I don't know. Even then, you showed up on my feed.
But you know what? It's so funny. Tonight, or over the last 2 or 3 days, God really been speaking to me about transition. So I ended up teaching about transition this morning. And, you know, God told me to really focus on transition. Ooh, you know what? I forgot. I have a graphic right here. Let me share the graphic for y'all. So our summer series at GPL is Transition Strategies. And the message today and the series this month is Tricky Transitions. I know. Ooh, tricky, tricky, tricky. Oh, my goodness. But the great thing is, I think it's just kind of, you know, prophetically profound. It's the providence of God, because you've been talking a lot of about transition. And I think prophets, prophetic voices need somebody, especially a mentor, teacher, leader who can speak into their transition, because boy, we have some tricky transitions, don't you think?
Yeah, listen. My transitions had led me to another state where I felt like I am definitely out of the will of the Lord. It felt like I was in the will, you know, but I was really chasing what my flesh wanted and not what God wanted. But even in that, it was still a part of my prophetic journey, right? God still used me moving to another state to walk me through some stuff.
Right, but I think, I mean, I love your transparency. You know, we're all transparent. We tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. But I think you really thought you were supposed to be there, right?
I really thought that was the move that God had set up for me. And now when I look back at it, I watched how things played out, and I was like, God, that actually wasn't you. It was the natural order of things because of decisions I made.
Right.
Not something you orchestrated. But life is about principles. Certain things happen because it's a principle, not because it's prophetic, right? So sometimes we get principle confused with prophetic. It's happening because it's a principle. Sometimes we'll say, well, you know, I got evicted from my house. You got evicted because you didn't pay your rent, not because God is trying to tell you to go buy this or to go rent that. Now, there are times when he is trying to do it, but you really have to look at some things as a consequence because you didn't obey the principle.
Oh my goodness. Now that'll preach. And we probably need to slow down a little and talk a little bit more about that with prophetic people, because again, there's a fine line between faith and foolishness. There's a fine line between being prophetic, going through a prophetic process, and like you said, just adhering to some principles. And there's a fine line between saying God told me and you just making a decision. And when you're in traumatic transitions, or you don't really have the right type of mentor or leader in your life who you allow inside, boy, you can have tricky transitions because you've had some tricky decisions and you didn't necessarily make the best choice. I mean, we've been there, done that. I've been there, but like, oh snap, did I do that? Yep, you sure did. So, and that's great. I think so many times in ministry, especially right now in this cancel culture, we're afraid sometimes to tell the truth, shame the devil, and say, that ain't God. as one of my friends used to say, that ain't God. You know, they're one of those pastors up there in New York. You say all that, but anyway, yeah, you got to sometimes you got to be willing to allow your mentor or your, spiritual mother, spiritual father, pastor, bishop, whoever, to sometimes tell you, no, that's not God. That's you. That's you making a decision. Because we can get anybody to agree with any decision we make. It's not
Yes.
hard to get agreement.
Because we know exactly what type of information to feed them so that they will come into agreement, which means we're not it's not about telling them some truth. We're not even telling them the real story. We tell them the part of the story that makes us look like we're headed down the right path, or it's God. We know how to manipulate a conversation as people, not as prophets, so that anybody can come into agreement. And at that time, now that I look back, I'm like, Lord, I wish I had someone in my life that said, Tanya, snap out of it. But I couldn't snap out of it. And I was headstrong. My convictions were strong, but my convictions was wrong. They were
Wow.
strong, but they were wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Loud and wrong, huh?
Loud and wrong. And I begged God to get me out of that place when I realized things. And here's the thing, God still provided, but it was a struggle. And I was like, God, it shouldn't be this hard. And then I couldn't see. When my vision started being blocked and bleary and blocked, and I couldn't see my future anymore, I knew this ain't the spaces. I can't even tap into my prophetic nature. I can't even see my life beyond this county, this community. I don't have a job. I don't have a car. I mean, this ain't even my type of life. Like, what did
Wow.
I get myself into? And when I tell you, when I fell on my face and I prayed and I wept, God opened up a door. Within a week, I had a job back home, and then He kept opening doors because I said, God, I'm done. I'm done doing it my way. I'm done being Jonah. I'm done running. I'm gonna go ahead and get thrown out this belly of the whale, and I am going to move forward. And He opened doors like that, and I made my way back home. And I was still in transition, but at
Wow.
least I was back in the will of God, and I was at a place where God can do more. Like I'm not pinching pennies just to get to the next place, right? So it was definitely a transition, and I had to be open about it, and I had to face the shame that I felt when I moved back home. I had to look at people's face and was like, but I thank God that they did not judge me, and they still love me through my transition, through those traumatic experiences that I had, right? No guidance, but which takes me, before I go to my next point, we're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with trauma, right, Chief Apostle?
Yeah.
So it makes me think about when you're grieving, when you're going through stuff, right? And that trauma,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we can stay. The reason why we need mentorship is because trauma will help us grieving. It'll keep us in a grieving place too long. And it reminds me of Samuel when he grieved Saul, and God was like, it's time for you to move on. Like, he's done. And sometimes as prophets, we need that mentorship because we grieve too long from the trauma that we experienced, and we don't know how to move on to the next assignment. We don't know how to transition from trauma because we still in our emotions. And we know Samuel was one of the greatest prophets. None of his words fell to the ground, but he still had he was imbalanced when it came to his emotions,
Wow.
because he knew God, because God had called Saul, and Saul disobeyed God, and Samuel knew that this was the man of God that the Lord put into place because the people asked. And so Samuel was holding on to what he knew God did, and yet it still didn't work out the way he thought it would work out, and he grieved that process. Grief will keep us in a place of transition longer than what we need to be.
Oh my
And
goodness.
that's
You
why
need to hit on that some more. What?
grief will keep us in a place of transition longer than we need to be. Even Elijah was in that place, and God was like, Elijah, get up and eat. Like, why are you here? Get up and eat.
Right.
You got a journey ahead of you. Like, we need someone to step into that place of grief, to step into that place of trauma and say, listen, you got to see a thing for what it is and understand the spiritual view of it so that you can move beyond it. But if we keep trying to have an answer, some stuff is just unexplainable. We'll figure it out when we get to the other side.
Right. Because you're not going to always have an answer. Or you're not going to always have an answer from God, a specific answer from God
But
regarding
as
everything that's
prophets,
going
we
on.
want an answer though. Like prophetic people like me, like I used to have an issue. God, I didn't want to do nothing unless I could see the full view. unless I knew exactly how it was going to turn out in 3 weeks. And so I would stay in a situation longer than what I needed because I needed to see how it was going to work out, not realizing it's not working out. You can't see it. It's not working out.
It is not working out.
It's not. So we need to have a mentorship to help us with transitions, to help us with trauma. And the third point is we need mentorship to help us transform.
Okay.
Because
mentorship to help us transform.
There is a transformation taking place when we start our prophetic journey. Again, because we spend so much time in the supernatural, you have to learn how to be a prophet and not a deacon or a reverend. Or sometimes because we've came up in a church and we've served in this position for a long time, it's hard to transition and live a life of a prophet. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is coming from tradition. So we're transforming from tradition into being the true prophet that God has called us. And that's one of the things we need a mentor for, to help get rid of those old clothes from an old covenant, from old connections. So that transformation is getting rid of those old connections, those old covenants, so that we can see that this is a new covenant that's being established. This is a new identity that I'm taking on, and I can't live the way I lived before. I can't operate the way I operated before because I see differently and I hear differently. Which means I'm going through a space of transformation, and that transformation is going to cause for accountability. Because if you are a prophet struggling your emotions and struggling with your flesh, you can't be a prophet and want to go out there and have sex. And you can't be a prophet fornicating. You can't say, "Oh, I'm a prophet," but then by the weekend you got weekend hookups. That's a whole transformation that you have to go through, and I had to go through that. Like, I couldn't. I'm good for 2 years, and the next year I'm going back into fornicating. Like, right. But I'm a prophet. Like, I got to learn how to be a prophet and keep. Can you be a prophet and keep your pants up? Come on now.
Right. Exactly. But I mean, but you're speaking the truth, because we have to, I think what we have done is we've dumbed down prophetic ministry to just prophesying, that we take the responsibility off of the prophet. We take the responsibility off of the prophetic people. But I'm here to tell you, if you're a true prophet of God, if you're an authentic prophet, guess what? There's a responsibility that comes with your mantle. There's a responsibility that comes with the word that comes out of your mouth. There's a responsibility that comes with those people you counsel and with what you do. But more than anything, you've got to realize and recognize that being a prophet is more than prophesying. Being a prophet is more than preaching. Being a prophet means that you are a kingdom ambassador who represents the kingdom of God. You represent the kingdom, so you represent the king. And so people have to see God's kingdom in you, no matter what you're going through.
Chief Apostle, let me say this, and I'm okay with telling this particular testimony, because this is where it changed for me. It was when I just got serving in my church, right? And on my way out of the door, someone who I'd previously, years ago, laid down with, was in the church, walked up to me and whispered something sexual in my ear.
Oh my goodness.
I felt so disgusted. Wow. Because I said, how dare him walk up and tell me in my ear what he wanted to do to me? What God was telling me in that moment, you got residue on you. You're still being transformed. There's a transformation that's still taking place. I was offended. I felt disgusted. I was like, yo, like, they don't see, like, I'm serving, I'm a minister. But God was telling me, even though you're not engaging in activity, there's still some cleanup. And as God was cleaning me up, I promise you, he was dealing with, okay, no more text message. Stop feeling like you got to send a text message. Stop responding. Because even though you're not engaging sexually, you're still entertaining those open doors. And that residue, they're not convinced you're a prophet.
Wow.
They're convinced you're promiscuous.
Right. Because they still see on you what attracted them to you in the first place.
Yes. she ain't a prophet, she promiscuous. Let me go whisper in her ear. That devil knows how to get into that flesh, right? In that moment, I was disgusted. I was like,
wow.
I
Help
felt
us,
bad.
God.
I was like, I can't do this. I'm like, God, And I had to be able to still stand boldly as a prophet, even through that transformation, and not give into it and still feel like I got on old clothes. But it was God letting me know there's still transformation, and I need you to cut all the contact off. If you're going to do this thing, I need you to be full-fledged in and still not leaving an open opportunity for the enemy to come in just in case this don't work, just in case the church won't accept you, just in case you don't find a mentorship, just in case they don't believe you, just in case they walk away from you. You're going to leave this door open. We have to stop operating from a just in case spirit, which means we're still leaving the door open for plan B. God is not plan B. And sometimes people see the plan B on us. They see the just in case. So yeah, like I didn't want people to see that promiscuous spirit on me. I wanted them to really see, she the real deal,
Right. But so tell me then, how did once we connected and you came through mentorship, and how did that begin to impact your life, or how did you begin to see a difference?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Okay.
And wait a minute,
you had a language.
Wait. Let me say this now, folks. Stand by, because I have like 13 reasons why prophetic people reject mentorship. I think I might do the top 4, and it has to do with your church. I'm gonna tell you why in a minute. But anyway,
it was the language that you were speaking. I always felt like weird because how I interpret things, my revelation. But it was when you started, the language that you had spoke to my spirit. Your person, not just your personality, but we meshed, and I was like, God, what is this? Like, I know that's not my mama, because I know who my mama is.
Right.
It was so natural. And even when I met you recognized it, you embraced it. So I think when it comes to mentorship, it's not forced. It's something that meshes together, and it's not forced, but it is a choice. It's not forced, but it is a choice.
Right. It's a choice. But then once you get in and you begin to see, I mean, one of the things I love that you always say is, once you got into mentorship and you began to hang around different levels of prophetic people, you began to see what level you were on and where you needed to come up.
Oh my God. In the town, I thought I was doing, but once I got around those other prophets, and I was like, wow, they're so confident. They're not apprehensive in their word. They're not second guessing. So it was when I went to not just convocation, even when I saw the live streams, and then when I went to convocation, I was even more inspired. And I was like, you know what, God, I can do this. I can be the prophet that you called me to be, because you put me in a space and you've shown me exactly where you want me to go. And you've shown me you've shown me confident people that is not stressed or worried about what other people have to say. And you show me people that has gone through the journey and maybe still going through it, and they're still pushing through. They're still standing strong in their prophetic mantle. And because I saw that, and I saw that it was a safe space, I was okay with that. I still had my struggles every now and then because I'm still learning. I was still going through transition. I was still going through some trauma, which caused me to experience some deliverance while I was there. But through that process, I was being transformed. And that's why I'm able to see myself today, and I can see my transformation. My prophetic journey is showing my transformation. And I'm like, wow, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm still watching it. Like, I know I mentioned on one video, when I first met you, Apostle, I was single, right? I was searching. And the moment I stopped searching and truly submitted my flesh and my desire to be married to the Lord, and stopped chasing behind something that God didn't want from me, what God really wanted from me came just like that. And I believe it's because I was connected to an organization. And number one, I'm connected to the Lord. And I didn't make being married the main thing. I made serving God the main thing, and He met my need
Mm, that's
versus me
good.
trying to meet my flesh. He
Right.
met my spiritual need, and so I'm married now,
I
right?
know.
To the right man.
To the right man. She's married to a goodly looking man too. The right man who
Who's okay with what I'm doing, who's okay with who I am.
Right. That's beautiful. That's why I'm like, thank you, Jesus. He doesn't try to compete with you. He's not trying to compete with me. He's not trying to deter you and tell you to go in a different direction. He's here supporting you because the key thing for me was you were already doing this before he met you. So he recognizes that there is something about you serving that is right for him as well.
Yes. And he checks me, like, even if I come to him and I try my and I don't go to him a lot. Um, but if there's something pressing on me and I don't even have to go to him, he will come to me and he will ask me, will you show it's not you? Are you not overthinking it? You know, so he does know how to speak to that part of me that's still growing.
Mm-hmm.
And before I can even respond in a certain way, I have to check myself. So my husband is definitely a great level of accountability for me as a person, even as a prophet.
That's awesome because everybody didn't have that. That is so awesome. But I think the reason that you have that, and I think and the reason you were able to identify the right husband as he chased after you were able to do that, I think, because you also were able to find balance in your prophetic mantle and in everything that God was, calling you to do. Because one of the things we hear a lot from prophetic people is like, oh my goodness, how do you find balance? How can you be balanced? And, all this stuff. I'm like, you know what? Just mark off some days, do certain things on certain days, make sure you make the right thing, make sure you have the right priorities, and God will cause it to work out. But you
Yeah.
also have to know what you're graced for in specific seasons of your life.
Amen.
Because you know
Amen.
what? I know we talked about this in Convocation. I have a great interview with Prophet Tanya. Maybe I'll try to air it this week from Convocation last year, where we talked a lot because she used to work closely with me. And then next thing you know, she was getting married. Then she couldn't work. Then she was having a baby. So I was like, oh my God, help me today. Help us, God. But
I
anyway,
was in a
she's
lot of
back. Thank you,
transition.
Jesus.
I went through a lot. Like, I had to leave my full-time job because, I was having complications. I
Yeah.
was serving. And here's the thing, like, I asked God, help me communicate this because I love you all. I love people. I love what I do. And I was feeling bad because I couldn't show up. But God had to teach me, Tanya, I have, it's going to be okay. And he had to show me, don't make this stuff an idol in your life. I know you love doing it, but I'm trained. I'm getting you prepared for a new season.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be okay with stepping away, for a moment so that I can build you up so that when you return, you'll be able to operate even on a greater level. So I had to be honest with myself and be able to communicate that with you, Apostle, regardless of what you had to say. I couldn't be afraid of your response, but I had to be honest, like, Apostle, I'm not going to be able to do. I truly had to be honest about where I was in my transition. And I feel like, oh, I'm going to disappoint her, I can't do this, because then I've made you an idol. Then I'm
Right.
being disobedient and I'm not being honest about what God is doing. And here's the thing, you were okay with that.
I know. Can you say that again, please? I know. Look, I look. Anytime you're the chief apostle, and anytime you're focused, guess what? There's going to be always be people who are going to be intimidated. There will always be people who have, choke up and all kinds of stuff, or they'll think because you are a certain way that maybe you're not approachable. But I know, we have open doors over here. But I mean, I listened to you, didn't I? And do you remember
Yeah.
that?
And then you give me an option. So here's the thing. It's okay to say no. Like, you would be like, you think you can do this today? Or you think you can do that today? I had to be okay with saying, and that was a whole nother lesson too. Like, we can't do people pleasing because
Right.
that's not going to look good when you get married and you trying to people please. That's.
Right.
So it's innate for you to ask people, because here, as an apostle, you're building, you're growing, and so you're going to ask people who have those gifts and those things that's help building what God has given you to do. It's up to us to discern whether it's necessary in this season. It's not. We can't put all the responsibility on you, say yes, and then blame you for the yes that we gave.
Right. Exactly.
You
That is
said yes. You
right.
said yes. You know, she's asking because you're a part of the community, you're a part of the organization, and that mentor sees something great in you. But if you know it's not your time yet, it's okay. Even
Right.
Jesus said it wasn't his time yet.
Right.
It's
Exactly. That is
okay to say no to your mentor if you know that it is God the one telling you it's not your time. And I knew that, and I was not afraid to tell my leader. I was not afraid to tell my mentor that I'm not able to do it. God is doing something different for me in this season, and I was okay with that. You know, it was hard stepping back. I had to watch y'all be great, and I had to sit back and relax and be like, man, I could be doing that.
right.
Gosh, I could
Exactly.
be on it
Exactly.
live. That could be
Right.
tough. And God was like, talk
But
later.
the great thing is, even after you married and after you had the baby, you came back strong, and now there's still position there for you. There's always going to be a position for those who transition well, and sometimes it is you got to step back, but the key is staying in communication. See, we're giving y'all all kinds of good nuggets tonight. I mean, you continue to communicate. You continue to let me know what's going on. I mean, I went
I
there
over
and
communicated. Apostle, I'm doing this today. How you know, Apostle? I'm letting you know I wasn't doing good this week. I haven't ate. I throwed up. I did this. I did
I
this.
know,
Like I think I over communicated.
right, exactly. But see, that's another level of mentorship. Here's what you guys have to know. I teach thousands of people. Hear me well, y'all. So because of this institution and because I teach online and all over, I teach thousands, but mentorship is another level of relationship. Our, mentorship is another level. So mentor, when you get a mentorship, guess what? Or you get with a mentor, there's a relationship that you're building. Not now, spiritual mother, spiritual father, that's even closer. But what we're saying is we have some teaching programs out there, but we have a prophetic mentorship program. And what we're offering this summer called Prophets Arise is kind of like I think a taster, or like one they can take a test and sample what we do, but you're going to hear from her, you're going to hear from me, and we've put this thing together specifically for those prophets who know it's time for them to arise. You may have been in a stuck place. You may have not been able to answer the call at a certain level. We have this program that we created just for you, and it's very affordable as well. And then I'm about to come back and tell you why prophets reject mentorship. But let me put this back on the screen for some of you new folks who are on here today. It's so great to see those of you who are watching and tuning in from everywhere. We're on about 4 or 5 different channels right now, so you may not see the people that we're talking to, but God bless you. Marla, Lady Sharon, Shamika, Jacqueline, Judy, Rose, Brittany, Faye, Cassandra, I see Ella Louise, Jamel, Demetria, Pastor Demetria, God bless you. I see Kina, Tequila, I can't say your name, Kwana. God bless y'all. I see you, Linda Scott. Bless you. We see you, Pastor Celeste and Tanya, our folks. God bless you. But what I want to do is I want to share with you our flyer. I think it's coming up. Let me see. Where is it? Let me see. Here we go. I'll let you talk about what we're offering now.
You know, before you say that, let me interject and say this.
Okay.
One thing, when we're dealing with the transition, the trauma, and the transformation, when I was going through the journey with my now husband, I invited you in that process because I didn't trust myself. And I leaned into the knowledge and the wisdom that you provided me, that also I feel like even right now where I'm walking in my blessing because I didn't rush that process. Because do you remember I wanted to do it in 3 months, and you was like, well, can let's pray about it. And I was like, you was like, give me some time. I was like, okay. But I think the reason why my marriage is going the way it is now, and it's not perfect, but the reason why my husband and I, we work great together is because when I got connected with him, I didn't rush the process of him being my husband. We both went through that space of transition, going through trauma, and transforming as friends. And I opened the door for you to help us through that process, so that when we did get married, it was at the right time.
Right. And see, now that's another level. As a teacher, I might not would have got involved with that, but as a mentor and as a spiritual mother, oh, I'm going to get involved. But you still have to be invited to be involved at that level. But the great thing was that even in that, when I said something she didn't want to hear, she still listened. And then Then you said your body was saying kind of something.
Let's wait. I was like,
well,
bring it on. What you mean, let's wait? I'm like, you know what, God, you set me up for this. But you know what? If you have to hide it, it's a hindrance. Can we say that again?
Oh my goodness.
If you have to hide it, it's a hindrance.
That's good.
If I had to hide what God was doing, then that lets me know that means it was going to hinder something that God was doing. If I had to hide what I was doing, that meant it was going to hinder what God was doing. And I didn't want to hide it because I knew it wasn't going to hinder it.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I love that. All right, folks. So again, here's what we want you to do. Now, there's a link to register today, and we start in July for this session, but I want you to like it, tag some people in the prophetic who you know may need to be a part of this. It's going to be on Thursdays in July, but it's not the first Thursday, because I think the first Thursday is July 4th, but after that, or it's like really close, but that following Thursday is when we start, and we have 4 sessions: identifying your prophetic call, partnering with God, finding your prophetic community, and nurturing your prophetic mantle. And what you see is what you get. You'll get both of us interacting like this. You'll hear her transparent testimonies and teachings, and mine as well. But again, no matter what your age is, it's not too late for you to get the mentorship you need. It's not too late for you to be developed in the prophetic. It's not too late for you to even be affirmed as a prophet in this season. All right. But this isn't about we're not ordaining people from here, but it might get you ready for our College of Prophets, though, if that's what you want to be a part of. But I'm excited about that. We have that coming up. All right. So did you hit all your points?
I did.
All right. So, oh my goodness, it's been 57 minutes. So I've got 13 points, but let me just hit the top 4 right now. Now, y'all put on your seatbelts. Y'all put on your seatbelts, because some of you might get offended by the time I give my 4 points, because I'm getting ready to give you 4. And depending on how much time, I might give you the rest of them. But I'm about to give you 4 reasons that prophets sometimes reject prophetic mentorship, because sometimes prophetic voices insist and think and say that you want a prophetic mentor, but by the time God sends a mentor your way, I begin to see that a few things are obvious. And these things that are happening in you are conflicting with prophetic mentorship. All right. And let me tell you, especially if you're really involved, I'm not long live the church. Somebody say long live the church. I'm not telling you not to be involved in your church. Long live pastor, long live bishop, all of the above. But what I am saying is sometimes we have some issues, and the issues, like she said, are with you. Typically the issues are you. But here's number 1. One of the reasons that prophets reject prophetic mentorship is because what you really want is a prophetic pastor. So you reject a prophetic mentor because you're longing for your pastor to prophetically be more than he or she can be. And so what you do is reject the divine mentor that God has sent your way, because you're longing for your pastor to be more than he or she can be in your life at that moment. That's good, isn't it?
That's good. Them overrated expectations.
Can we talk about that? You have that's good. Overrated expectations. So you're expecting your pastoral teacher, you're expecting your prophetic, not even prophetic pastor, let's say that. You're expecting your teaching pastor, you're expecting your evangelistic pastor to mentor you in the prophetic, And that's not even a part of their vein.
Mm-mm.
That's not even a part of their mantle. And so what do? You get mad or you hold it in. And then when a real mentor, a prophetic mentor comes with a real program, you reject it because what you really want is a prophetic pastor.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you
Wow.
want. That makes sense to y'all?
Mm.
All right. So that's one reason. All right. So the another reason that this happens, another reason, number two, that you reject prophetic mentorship is not only do you want your prophetic pastor, most of you really want the recognition of your pastor. So
Mm.
lots of prophets reject mentorship because they want recognition from their pastor. And if your pastor sees you being mentored prophetically by someone else, or if your pastor doesn't get that opportunity, and maybe that again, they might not be able to, then guess what begins to happen? You get busted, disgusted, and depressed because what you still really want is recognition from your pastor. And
Mm-hmm.
you want your pastor to recognize you as a prophet, even though they can't or won't. Who am I talking to today?
Whew.
And so because your pastor won't recognize you as a prophet, you'll hold off on mentorship somewhere else, because what you really want is this church that you're going to. You want them to identify your prophetic call. You want them to mentor you in the prophetic call, even if they're not even a prophetic church. They may be very evangelistic, but that doesn't mean they're prophetic and apostolic.
Mm.
All right. And just because your pastor invites a popular prophet to your house doesn't mean you're a prophetic church. Are you hearing me?
And Apostle, I think that's what happens at a lot of places. We get stuck at them, like who they invite. They might invite a evangelist who has a prophetic gift, or they might invite an actual prophet, but
Mhm.
inviting them is not the same as inviting the prophetic inside of your church.
Right. It's not the
Doing that
same as having
temporarily,
It's
yeah.
not the same as having real prophetic training, or even having not just an affirmation or ordination of, elders, deacons, and pastors, but also having a prophetic protocol in your church where down the road prophets can be affirmed publicly and in the house. There's a difference between that. And that's when typically your house is probably not prophetic. All right. So number two is most prophets really want the recognition of their pastors, so they'll hold off on prophetic mentorship, thinking sooner or later, if they just give all they got to this church, to this organization, sooner or later, your pastor is going to recognize you as a prophet. But if you haven't seen them recognize anybody else as a prophet, there's no need to think that they're going to recognize you as a prophet. Ooh, who am I talking to tonight?
Mm.
All right. Next, let's see. What is number three? Number three is most want their pastor to be able to speak into their prophetic life. Most of you, I'm talking about prophets who reject prophetic mentorship, prophets who reject authentic prophetic mentorship, and you're involved in a church or you're a member of a church. Not saying, I believe everybody should have a local church, all right? Some of you won't, but some do. And right now we know some of y'all are global. You go to global church. We have people who are part of our church or our chapel from across, the country. But here's the other thing. So most of you want your pastor to be able to speak into your prophetic life. You want them to say, oh, I see you're on this prophetic journey, or I see you're doing A, B, C, D, or blah, blah, blah. But guess what? That's not in their DNA. And so you're waiting for them to manifest something that is not there. And even when God sends you the opportunity to be mentored prophetically, guess what you do? You reject prophetic mentorship because you really do want your pastor to speak into your prophetic life. That's a good desire, but it's not always a realistic one.
Right, right.
Right. So true, huh, Prophet?
When
You can say whatever you're going to say. Go ahead.
I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and I said, you know what? That can kind of be a little low key pride, because we want to be recognized in front of the people. Um, who we've grown up with, who we've
Right.
served with. So because we want to be accepted. We
Right.
want them to recognize and call something out on us in front of the people so that we can feel accepted by them.
Mm-hmm.
So we reject being called out in front of a group of strangers because they don't know us. I need my pastor to recognize me in front of the people on the usher board so they can respect me more, so they can accept my gift and my anointing. A lot of that stuff is pride.
Right. Right. That is so true. But that leads us to my next point, which is number 4. Most want their pastor to be able to see and acknowledge them as a prophet and acknowledge the prophet in them. So a lot of times why you reject prophetic mentorship is because you're holding on to dear hope, hoping that your pastor, the pastor that you grew up with, the family in the family church that you're at, or where you landed when you moved, for this job, and now you're at a big church. You're hoping and you're wanting, and you have a great desire for this pastor to be able to see the prophet in you and to acknowledge the prophet in you. But many times they can't because that's not their vision. That's not their viewpoint. So they're not even looking for a prophet. All right. How can I identify a prophet if I'm not looking for a prophet? How can I identify a prophet if I don't necessarily want a prophet around me like that? Or if I have a prophet, if you have another prophet around you, you don't need all this. So, and if that's not a part of your vision. So many times prophetic, voices and prophets are in spaces and places and churches where they really are not going to be able to nurture their prophetic gift, nor are you going to be able to get the training for your prophetic gift. And so that's why it's so important to be able to connect with an authentic and a credible institution like GICMP, where we've been training prophetic voices for years. We are coming up on our 12th convocation. I'm so excited. It's 12 years of prophetic convocation, but we've been around longer than that. And again, that's one of the ways that you reject is that you're saying, you know what? If my pastor won't recognize me as this, I don't want to be recognized. But who does God recognize you as? And why would God give you an opportunity for mentorship to develop that prophetic mantle if he didn't want it to take place? Who am I talking to today? What do you think about that?
When I tell you, Apostle, the moment we're okay with not being accepted in our home church, it will be the day we can truly flourish and get the mentorship so that even when we go back, they can see the maturity, because you never know what doors will open for you there. You may not be able to prophesy or be recognized as a prophet, but certain doors may open because your leader will see,
Right.
that you are maturing. And
Right.
sometimes we want to control the narrative and we want to isolate it to, I need my pastor to recognize me as a prophet, not an
Right.
intercessor, not this. I don't, we just want to be seen as a prophet and
Right.
not see how the mentor, that outside mentorship can still influence your position in the church.
Right. And I think, on a bottom line, we already know that, look, as prophets, no matter where you are, guess what? You need to be in that intercessory ministry. Okay.
Yes, I'm in the intercessory ministry at the church where I'm currently serving.
Right. See, that's huge. You got to be there. Even when I was on the road and I was serving here at one of the biggest churches here in Jacksonville, guess what? I was on the prayer ministry. All right. So I'm gonna give about 2 or 3 more, and then we'll get ready to close. Now, if you guys have any questions you want to ask us, you can do that in the comments section, or feel free to do that in the comments section. We'd love to talk to you or answer any of your questions if you want us to. Let me give you 2 or 3 more reasons that prophets reject prophetic mentorship. Here's another one. Sometimes you may not get or receive the mentorship you say you want because you are not ready. The bottom line is you've been looking for mentorship, you've been praying for mentorship, and when prophetic mentorship shows up, you reject it. Well, if you reject it, that means you're just simply not ready.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got to embrace the fact that you're not ready. Come on, say it to yourself. I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Right, exactly.
You appeared because I was ready.
Right, exactly. And when you were ready to invest as well and willing to invest.
Yeah.
Now look, you get a whole bunch of free stuff at your church. And that's one of the reasons that prophets want training, or they want stuff to happen at their church, because you don't want to invest. Many times, one reason, which is, again, that you want your pastor to recognize that you want something to take place at your church, because we know at our local church, covenant matters. Covenant pays off. Yes. The people who come to my local church, the people at GPL, our chapel, guess what? They get tons of prophetic education, complimentary. But when it's time to go to the next level, there are some things they've got to invest in. And sometimes not being ready also means you're not ready to invest.
Yeah.
Some of you will look at $125 and act like it's $1,000. When we're saying, I think it's 125 or 150. I can't remember. It might be, I don't know. You got to click and see. And you can use Klarna with this as well. But sometimes you're just not ready. Sometimes you may not get or receive the mentorship you say you want because you are not ready. All right, I'm going to go to another one now. Sometimes those around you refuse to pour into you simply because they've observed a pattern in you that doesn't appear to accommodate real tutelage and mentorship. So when you reject tutelage and you reject mentorship, guess what? Mentorship will pass you by.
Yes.
Are you hearing me today?
Because not everybody is fit for mentorship. They spirit, they flesh ain't ready, and they spirit definitely ain't ready. Spirit is off.
Yeah, because I could get a whole room of y'all in a room and I'm mentoring, and somebody may wonder, well, why won't she choose me? Or why can't I ever do this? It could be that you're rejecting it and you don't even know. You're rejecting all of this, and you don't know that you have a stank attitude. You don't know that you think you know everything. You know, that's a way of rejecting mentorship.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know until somebody tells you the truth. And so that's what we're here to tell you. I'm going to give you all this. I'm going to give you it all. I'm almost done. Oh my goodness. What time you have to get up in the morning? You good?
Oh, well, I'm good. I have to get up and travel about an hour and a half away, but I'm okay.
All right. Look at God. All right. So next, another reason that prophets reject mentorship is sometimes your patterns of non-compliance expose how you really feel despite what you say. So you can say, I'm here, I'm ready to receive, but guess what? You never comply to anything. You know, there's lessons and steps that you have to do. You never do the lessons. You never do the steps. There's certain things that you're supposed to turn in. You don't do it. So guess what? You are showing us that your lack of compliance and your non-compliance shows us the pattern that are taking place in your life that shows us why you're rejecting it.
Wow.
Are you
What's
here?
coming out of their mouth is not matching what should be coming out of their mantle.
Right. And so that's why I say you can say a whole bunch of stuff, but pay attention to people's actions, because people's actions really do speak louder than words, but their actions speak the truth. You know what I mean? That your actions speak the truth about really what you want to do and what you are willing to do and how much you're willing to potentially get mentored. All right, I'm gonna do one more, then I think I'm gonna go. I got like 13 of them. I see y'all just sitting here listening too. You're sitting here paying attention. I guess y'all must need this, huh?
If they want to ask me a question, they can.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So put something, if you guys want a question, or put it in we got to go over there and look at the chat section. Let me do this real quick, and then we'll check and see if y'all have any questions. Oops. Now, sometimes though you say you want more, yet never show up to receive more, your would-be mentors understand their time, knowledge, and lessons poured into you wouldn't net them a good return on investment. So when we mentor, we want a good return on our investment. We want to know that our investment in you is paying off. But if we see patterns where you're not willing, oh my goodness, that'll do something. Are you hearing me? So there are all kinds of reasons that you choose not to be mentored. And sometimes you don't know it until somebody takes the time to break it down.
Yeah. Sounds like there's a struggle with being disciplined.
Yeah, all of the above. Exactly. Yeah. Discipline is huge because, with any mentorship program, like show up,
Yeah.
be fully there, fully aware, fully willing. Like if we're on Zoom, be fully there.
And
Like,
Apostle, I've seen people at the moment they see tension or the moment they see something going on, they'll use it as a reason to dismiss mentorship. Oh, I felt like I should. Sometimes we prophetic people, we're off in our thinking and our emotions, and we'll use anything as a reason to cop out. We'll use anything as an excuse to stop the journey and to truly go through with the process. And you can be on a Zoom if a Zoom is not acting right, or, we'll give any reason
right.
to not show up or to stop showing up.
Right. That is so true. And sometimes the truth is your rejection from the past is really ruling your present and harming your future. And that's what I'm talking about. Your rejection is causing you to see things from a different perspective. And then instead of understanding that the enemy is trying to fight you, you begin to say that the organization or the mentor is coming against you instead of recognizing, oh no, this is God trying to get something to you. Well, you have a spirit of rejection.
Yeah.
And sometimes the truth is that rejection from the past is really ruling your present and harming your future. So you reject mentorship.
And we have to stop listening to other people and their trauma too, because you get a bunch of traumatized prophets together, then they create a campaign, and now everybody's campaigning together to come against the mentorship that you said you needed.
Right. Right. That is so true. Yeah, you gotta watch the folks around you too, because oh my goodness, there's some crazy stuff out there. And they'll convince you that you're mad at something that you don't even need to be mad about. Or, I'm just talking, y'all. I'm not talking about anybody specific, just talking. All right. We're almost done. I'm going to make it to the 13th one. I'm almost done. I think I got 3 more. And sometimes the truth is your past pain is still predetermining what you will and won't gain. So if you wallow in your past pain, guess what? We already know what you will not gain.
Yeah.
And you will not gain everything that's being mentored and poured into you, because you don't have the capacity to be able to do that. Makes sense? All right. We are coming down to the home stretch. Pastor Celeste says we don't have any questions. We do not have any questions, but we're going to tell you, we're going to show you a little bit more so you can register. We'd love for you to register, and at the very least, register for our free courses. You can click there. I want to say on that website, you'll be able to go to another link that takes you to our main website that will then show you some of the other things that we have. Okay, I have 3 more that I'm going to give you. 3 more. All right. But we're almost.
I can't believe no questions after all we didn't talk about it. You're about to take this opportunity.
Well, they may be digesting it. That might be it.
That's true. That's a lot.
Like, sometimes truth is you have to accept the fact that you're just not ready until you first accept where you are and declare and decree, I want to be healed. I need to be healed. So what does that mean? Sometimes your healing won't allow you to be mentored because you're not healed enough to hear the truth. All right. And we see that a lot with prophets. A lot of times that still has to do with rejection. It still has to do probably even with some of you, it may be what's going on at your church that's causing you not to be able to move forward expeditiously with what God has potentially given you an opportunity to be mentored in. All right. And so you reject it. And so another thing that you reject, I got 2 more for you. Again, we're talking about 13 reasons that prophets reject mentorship. After Prophet Tanya has told us reasons mentorship is important, I think it's important for you to see the kind of things that you reject so you can understand. And sometimes the truth is you can't move forward today because you are consumed with your yesterday. Now that's a bad thing. And I've seen that a lot, where you get so consumed in what used to be and what didn't happen, what hasn't happened, that you can't move forward in your today because you're so focused on yesterday and everything that didn't happen in yesteryear, right?
Yeah.
Are you still talking about it? I'm like, oh my goodness. Really? Are we still there? All right, here's the last one, last one. And then we're going to pray on out. I will say, yeah, I may come back on tomorrow night, but I may be a private one. Ooh, I don't have enough characters in this, but we'll see. It may be a private one. I was going to say I might prophesy to some people because, Prophet Dwann and I were on yesterday prophesying to some people.
Okay.
And we were prophesying to leaders, but then we had some regular people saying, oh, I didn't get prophecy. Well,
Wow.
yeah, I know. I know. You're right. All right. So this other one is really long. Let me just say it. Let me look at it and say it. So sometimes truth is until you, dear prophet, are ready to move forward, no matter how much you complain, cry, scream about not having the help you need to manifest your destiny, you will continue to remain in the same position until you face your fears and deal with the matters of your heart that need to be mended. So a lot of times you reject prophetic mentorship because you're not willing to deal with your heart and all the good in your heart. Because don't you think in the midst of mentorship, you get healed, and in the midst of mentorship, you get delivered and set free?
Yes, you do. Like a lot of the issues that sit in here, mentorship exposes those things. And sometimes we're not ready for those things to be revealed. We're not ready for those things to be exposed. Even though we desire mentorship, the moment we start doing that surgery on the inside and those things start coming out, those issues, yeah, it's a lot of prophets get stuck.
Very, very stuck. Well, all right, folks, we're getting ready to come to an end. We've been on here long enough. We're going to wrap this thing up within an hour and 30 minutes. So if you have any questions or if you want to know more, feel free to ask in the comment section or tag yourself so you remember this, or tag somebody who you know may need prophetic mentorship or may want prophetic mentorship. But again, we want to remind you that it's myself and Prophet Tanya, and this is plenty of time because these sessions, these particular ones don't start until July. I want to say it's the second Thursday in July, again, because July 4th is on a Thursday, I believe. And so again, you can screenshot this, but here's what we'll be teaching on and mentoring you on during this summer in July: identifying your prophetic call, partnering with God, finding your prophetic community, nurturing your prophetic mantle. Now, folks, we go deep into this, all right? And again, it's called Prophets Arise, Developing and Cultivating the Emerging Yet Seasoned Prophetic Voice. Let's quickly talk about seasoned prophets or seasoned ministers of the gospel who still need to be trained in the prophetic. What you got to say?
Well, I know plenty seasoned people, that prophetic people or prophets that they're prophets, they're older, up in age, but they don't have a prophetic community. They may have some level of training, but they have not evolved their level of thinking. They not have evolved because of tradition. And so I truly believe that it's so important for even the seasoned prophets to realize that God has not forgotten them. And just because things were not available to them at one point of their life, because things have evolved. There's a different level of access. There are different things, different technologies that's out now. And so sometimes when you're a seasoned, you can become discouraged because you feel like you've wasted the time, you've lost the time, and maybe there's not enough time for God to use you. So if you're a seasoned and you know you're a prophet, you know you're a person that can operate in the prophetic, I definitely want to encourage you to register, because God has not forgotten you. All you need to do is just get that level of access so that you will know how to operate as a prophet in this dispensation, in this particular time, because things have changed.
Right. And what I'm telling you also is, I know God specifically spoke to me about that. He said, okay, there are women particularly, I mean, we mentor men as well. It's okay. We got men over here too, but there are women between the ages of 45 and 65 who need to be mentored, and just, because of life have not been mentored in the prophetic, because of life have not been affirmed in the prophetic, because of life, I didn't even know that it was a possibility. But we understand there's, we know there's some young folk too. We mentor young folk all the time. Well, younger folk, what I'm saying. But the point is, if you're anywhere from 40 to 65, Tanya was like 38, any of y'all, this is the class for you. This is the course for you. Prophets arise, because I believe that this is a season where God is really causing and calling you to arise, no matter what you have gone through and no matter what your age. I don't care if you're 50, 55, 60, 65, some of you might be even 70. It doesn't matter. You still can be mentored, and you still can come and arise as the prophet, the prophetic voice that God is calling you to arise at. And this is a safe community, a safe space where we will not just mentor you, but nurture you and put you on the right track. For even those of you who may say, you know what, I know I'm called to even be affirmed as a prophet. We have the College of Prophets as well, but these are our summer courses that we are here teaching about. And before we get out of here, let me share Tuesday, it will be part 2 of the Seer's Post, When Kings Dream. So I'm teaching seers and dreamers about their position and responsibility as dreamers. So you can register for that as well, or you can register for all 3. You can register for the Seer's Post, you can register for the Prophets Arise, and Marketplace Entrepreneurs Arise and Lead, which is with Prophet Tanya and myself. She was the first person I affirmed, I want to say back in 2011. I think.
Wow.
I think it was like November or December. Yes. So she's, has this for the marketplace leaders. I think that starts this Thursday. She just finished up one of her conferences or workshops. So you can register for all 3 for just $250. And again, we accept Klarna. So you just have to click on Cards and More, and Klarna will come up if you want to do, smaller payments. So that's what we're doing. And it's summer. Our summer sessions are here. So we're going to say enroll. And I'm excited that Prophet Tanya is helping me with Prophets Arise, developing and cultivating the emerging yet seasoned prophetic voice. I think we've hit on everything. You think? Any last words you want to say?
I'm just so excited, Chief Apostle, because, for a long time, I've always asked God, why did I have to go through the experiences I went through? And now I know why. And I still believe it's still unfolding, but I'm so grateful that I'm healed, and then I'm able to share my journey and incorporate that along with the teaching, so that everything will come together and make sense, because now it makes sense to me. So I'm just excited. I'm at this place with God where my story matters, my ministry matters, and my story matters because my mantle matters, right? So I'm just excited to have this opportunity to partner with you, to be able to share in this platform and bless other people, and to really teach them and motivate them and encourage them that it's time for them to arise in their mantle and be who God has called them to be, and do what God has called them to do.
Amen. Very good. I'm excited as well. All right, folks, we're going to pray right now and then close out. So I even lift up every single prophetic voice right now who's contemplating what to do next. That prophetic voice who says, I need a mentor. I need another level of a teacher. I need someone who can help pull out the prophet in me, pull out the prophetic voice in me. I speak to you now in the name of Jesus, and I speak a boldness over you that you will not be afraid. We cancel every spirit of fear, everything not like God that would try to cause you not to think that this isn't the right time. We bind it and forbid it from operating. And even now, I prophesy that the prophet shall arise in you, no matter where you've been, no matter how far along you are in the prophetic, whether you're seasoned in the prophetic, or even whether you need a little bit more extra help, I decree and I declare, hallelujah, that God is going to cause the prophet to arise. And as you submit in this season to mentorship, that you're going to see greater manifestation of that prophetic mantle that is on your life. And so even now, God, I say, let your kingdom come and your will be done in the lives of your people as it already is in heaven. In Jesus' name, hallelujah. Amen, amen, and
Amen.
amen. All right, Prophet Tanya, have a great night. And thank you so much for joining me. And thank you to each and every one of you for joining as well. We're excited about what God is doing. So don't forget, you can again sign up for Prophets Arise. Just go in our description area, click on the link there and sign up. And on that same page, you are also able to sign up for all 3 of our live courses. You're also able to register for some of the on-demand ones as well. You have any questions, feel free to inbox either one of us or inbox us on whatever page you're watching live, inbox us. Until next time, God